Welcome back, gang. It's Delta here from Delta's Gaming. I never thought I would say Magic Nightblade is my favorite tanking style in today's game, but it is. So here I'm going to tell you why, how to use it, and some general tanking tips, whether you're using this class or anything else, so you can understand tanking better and then use it on your own builds and hopefully run a Magic Argonian Nightblade, even a Vampire. So let's get started. So I have a lot of issues with some of the other tanks and the mentality of tanking in this game. Remember that this is not World of Warcraft. This is not another traditional MMO where basically you won't have any self-healing and you're completely reliant on a healer to keep you alive. Tanks in this game can do that and more. They can DPS, they can heal themselves, they can heal others, they can run buffs and debuffs that are useful for the group or individual play. So this build is centered around that philosophy, that idea. You're going to be independent of healers to be able to survive. You're going to provide awesome boosts to DPS and other buffs to reduce damage. So this is the tanking style and mentality I want you to have. Active tanking. Don't just sit there and hold block with one character and think that's your job as a tank. It's not. So with that in mind, I'm going to show you what the skills are for this particular build and explain how they're used. So the first thing is we have two bars. We're both using sword and shield, and that's likely due to our gear. So there's two setups that we're going to run, one for trials and one for small group or solo play. So I'm going to show you the trials gear first. And the trials gear is important because that's kind of how we set up our bars. So the Covenant set, this is the Potentites or whatever the heck it's called. It's now at CP 160 and it reduces the cost of ultimate. So we're not going to put that on our main bar, but it's a decent way to have a reduced cost ultimate like Warhorn that's really important for group play. So if you go back here, our back bar has two different ultimates that we can run. In a trial, you're going to run aggressive Warhorn, and the tanks and the healers should be running this with the DPS. Ideally, you want to keep this up every 9.5 seconds, but when you can, you want to keep it up every 30 seconds for the increased stats. With this build, it is possible to get a Warhorn 225 ultimate every 30 seconds. And the reason I called it the Catalyst is I was playing with my DK and I was wondering, what is the best, most possible, fastest way to get a Warhorn? Well, it's on a Nightblade, and a lot of that's due to our passives and active abilities. So for instance, it resolves around the siphoning passives. 1. Catalyst. Drinking a potion gives you an ultimate. So typically what I do is I save my ultimate and a potion. I'll use my ultimate Warhorn, then immediately use a potion to get this max benefit. 2, you got Transfer. When gaining ultimate, get 2, but it has a 4-second cooldown. That's considerably lower than, let's say, the Dragon Knight's Earth and Heart buff and the Templar's Dawn's Wrath, so you get more opportunities to get ultimate. Now, why does that matter? Well, it's mainly because the decisive trait on our front bar sword. I put pretty much all of our active abilities on this front bar so we can take advantage of that decisive trait. Now, it says 1 ultimate, but remember, every little bit adds up. Plus, you're going to be getting ultimate over time. You're going to be using potions. You're going to have Blood Spawn procs and Tava's Blessing procs. So there's a whole lot of opportunity to get ultimate, and that decisive trait will really provide a boost to your ultimate gains. So these skills is what I've been using and what I think is best for group play. And Swallow Souls, it is self-healing. Now I change this sometimes, but Swallow Souls, they get a nerf, so it doesn't hit 2 targets anymore besides yourself, and the healing from it isn't as powerful as it used to be due to the way they changed the champion points. So with that being said, I prefer this as my own self-healing, self-buff. So if you're going to play just trials, I would probably change it to Funnel Health, but I really like the utility that it has, giving me the minor vitality. So right now in this patch, we also have 8% healing received as well down here. 9%, excuse me. Just realize that this is changing the next patch to be healing done. And while that's more effective, it's because all of your abilities, not just the ones you're getting healed, will help out. So, Funnel Health. Well, now that benefits from this once it's changed in the next patch. Sap Essence. Well, now that benefits from this in the next patch. So it's a really big boon to this Argonian Sap Nightblade mentality. Swallow Souls, that's what we're going to use. Essentially, it's a hot, and it's also a good spammable single target ability to use to proc our siphoning attacks, which is on our back bar. I'm going to get to siphoning attacks in a bit, but essentially it restores stamina and magic. So siphoning stack is so fundamental to Magic Nightblades because you can hold block and get more stamina back than you consume using this build, using this. So let's say it costs 1900 magic to maintain, lasts 15 seconds, but it has a 10% chance on all direct damage abilities to get 2k stamina, 2100. So the way we set this up is reduce block cost, low cast, spammable ability, single target that hits one target, 10% chance to get more stamina back than you consume. Ideally, you won't be running out of stamina. Now, the Dragon Knights have a lot of benefit because they have Battle Roar, but I've found resource management easier on a Magic Nightblade due to this way we've set it up. Skill number 2 is Ransack. Now, Pierce Armor is obviously the better of the two things to run, specifically with this build. Right now, there is a bug with Elemental Drain. Elemental Drain gives back resources and trials. So I remorph this and use Ransack instead. It's going to buff your physical resistance, which really isn't an issue considering we're using the Mirage morph. So for right now, it's what I'm using, but ideally you want Pierced Armor. No ETA when that's going to get fixed. But the reason it does it is because every time you apply a buff, basically it removes the old effect and gives the new effect its full duration. So if you have Elemental Drain on, it has 6 seconds less, and you reapply Pierced Armor, the Minor Fracture, it takes the magic producing effect of Elemental Drain away and reapplies Pierced Armor. So that's why we use Ransack. Essentially, Ransack is a good taunt. It buffs your armor, which doesn't really matter, but the Major Fracture. So this is a buff that we want to maintain. There should be other buffs like this, other ways you're getting this specific buff in your trial group, but just keep in mind, this is a good debuff or something we're going to apply to a target to increase overall damage for the group, physical damage. Last thing I'll say about Ransack, it is not our primary taunt. So we're not a stamina-based build. If you look at our stats here, and these are unbuffed, we have 28k health, 24k magic, and 22k stamina. So ideally, we're a magic build with a little bit higher of a stamina pool. So secondarily, we want to use Ransack. Primarily, what we're using our stamina for is Heroic Slash. So this gives Minor Maim. Tanks out there, I cannot tell you how important Minor Maim is. This is something you must have up 100% on the boss, a debuff, because it reduces their damage done. Now that seems really simple, but this can apply to secondarily effects like, AoE on the ground, other people taking damage. Some specific mechanics can be debuffed for this. This is a tremendous boon to your overall team's performance. So consider this the priority in debuffing a specific boss. Not only does it reduce their damage, but you get ultimate back, which is really, really good for Warhorn. Next ability up is Sap Essence. Sap Essence is core to Magic Nightblade tanking. It heals you, and it heals nearby allies around. But you look at the cost, 2,500. So this is a spammable ability, but remember, you're trying to balance and calculate in your mind this. 10% chance to restore magic and stamina. So if there's 5 mobs around, it becomes more advantageous to use Sap Essence instead of a 900 magic cost Swallow Souls. So realize that what you're doing is trying to figure out what is the ideal thing to spam while you're maintaining aggro on the mobs. Your primary job is to keep things taunted. Your secondary job is to use Sap or Swallow Souls to get back resources, heal yourself, and heal others. So Sap Essence, use it as an AoE spammable to heal yourself and heal others. A tip that I found out today, I didn't even know this, but apparently you can use Sap Essence out of combat and it doesn't require a target and will still heal you. So on this build, 2.1k Sap Essence while I'm not buffed. So use it as a way to heal yourself and others if you don't have a target. The other thing is, Swallow Souls requires a target to use it on healing yourself. So sometimes you'll be out of range on your own, running away, and you're just spamming that Swallow Soul button, nothing to heal you. Use Sap Essence in that crunch time where you don't have a target around you or something you can use Swallow Soul on. Last but definitely not least is Stalwart Guard. One of the main reasons I absolutely love tanking in this patch. It's just changed the way the game works for me, and I just enjoy it so much. Essentially, what it's going to do is create a tether between you and an ally. You have 15-meter range where you can be until the tether breaks, then you have to reapply it. Keep in mind, this does have a hefty stamina cost. So the way to use guard properly is not to just put it on someone and never change it. The way to use it is swapping guard in specific situations. So an instance where this may be helpful is guarding a melee DPS when you know there's a lot of conal AoE and they might get cleaved by the damage. Once that's done, if the boss goes into a different phase where the healer must stay alive, swap guards to the healer. Remember, it's 4k stamina, so that's a big portion of our stamina, so don't just spam the thing. But in certain situations, it's not just a place and forget ability. You really need to swap it around. Another benefit of having Stalwart Guard on is increased magic recovery. So you can level this up in PvP and actually get 10% for having it double bar on both bars. Additionally, I went with Vampire, and the reason I went with Vampire is because a lot of the newer content is based on poison and disease damage, and I don't see a whole lot of fire. And so the nice thing about Vampire is, number one, on death, it's harder to kill you below 33% life. And number two, supernatural recovery. ESO reverted their change on supernatural recovery, not requiring ability on your bar to get the magic and stamina benefit. So unbuffed here, on a tank, I'm at 1800 magic recovery. If I use a magic potion to get my 20% buff up, I'm almost at 2200, and that's with the Atronach Munda Stone. So I can do a whole lot of sap essence and funnel health with siphoning attacks up and really provide a powerful boost to our healing as a group. And self-healing, surviving on my own, is so important to this. Last ability up can be flexed in and out, and it's Soul Harvest, which seems very, very odd. And there's two reasons we use Soul Harvest. One, while slide, anytime you kill an enemy, you gain 10 ultimate. Delty, I'm a tank, why do I need this? Well, you don't typically need, you're not going to typically kill things as a tank, but you never know. Spamming sap essence a lot of times is enough to kill mobs when they're at low health or funnel health or swallow souls. So if you do kill something, 10 ultimate is a lot, especially on our front bar, which we have our decisive trait. So you're going to have a lot of opportunities because every time you gain ultimate on that front bar, you have an opportunity to generate ultimate. That's why it's possible to get a 30-second warn. Some of the other reasons is slotting abilities on our bar increases our spell critical. It increases our critical strike damage. Delty, I'm a tank. Why do I need critical strike damage? Remember that sap essence, funnel health, or swallow souls, each of these determines how much healing you get back from how hard you hit. On my magic Nightblade DPS that can hit at 18k swallow soul, I'm getting a lot of healing back. So you want the benefit of the assassin's abilities on your front bar so you have more powerful healing. Consider this a flex though. If you don't like this ability, something else to take really worthwhile is Soul Tether. That's going to be AoE, it's going to stun mobs, it's really good for group dungeons. Number two is Bolstering Darkness. That's Veil of Blade's other morph. I'm going to get to that in a second. Either way, this is our front bar. What we're going to do to maintain, we're going to guard a target that's taking a lot of damage or that we really just need to not die, if that makes sense. We're going to debuff the boss with minor maim and keep this buff up every 9 seconds, every 9, not 12, to generate ultimate. This is where the majority of our stamina is going. We're going to taunt, mainly the other taunt on our back bar, but this as a debuff every 12 seconds. If there's 2 or more mobs, we're going to be using Sap Essence. We're going to always initially put a Swallow Soul heal over time for ourselves, but only spamming this single target ability when we need resources back. And that's our front bar. First thing you'll notice is Stalwart Guard is on our back bar as well, and you need the double bar it since it's a toggleable ability and will turn off and on as it turns away. Plus we get Magical Aid, which is 10% once you have it fully buffed, so it's a reason to continue to have it on the back bar. However, if you do need some more space on your bar, consider Stalwart Guard your flex spot. Some of the common things you're going to want to place there are Absorb Magic, specifically in Bet Mob, the very last boss. You can basically swallow a lot of that big old Rakat's damage in front of you when he's doing his shotgun machine gun thing. So that's something that you could put there. Another thing you could put there is Harness Magic. If we take this and use Harness Magic or Dampening Magic, this is also worth having in endgame PvE content since it is a damage shield. Okay, so if you watch my previous video on the Undaunted Helms, you should be having 2 buffs at all times as a tank. And those are your major resistance buffs. So major resolve, major ward. As a Nightblade, it's kind of cool because we get this already from just using a shadow-specific ability. The obvious shadow ability we're going to use is Refreshing Path. Now, it does cost a little bit of magic, 2,800. Okay, that's a lot of magic. Lasts 11.5 seconds, but we're going to maintain this every 9 seconds. And the reason why is because the buff lasts that long. So really, we're using this not just for self-healing, not just for major expedition, but we're using it for our major resolve, major ward, physical and spell damage. So you look over here, spell and physical resistance unbuffed, and we apply this, and the add-on comes up and shows us that we have it applied, 26k. Now we can reach the 31k mitigation mark, which is just below the cap, and blood spawn procs. Now you're not going to be nearly at cap, but I found it more advantageous this patch to have more self-healing rather than having pure mitigation. Now in the next patch, there are going to be some things that come out like the VR16 Footman or 160 CP Footman that might be useful, but right now I can find surviving just as easy with low mitigation and high self-healing. Okay, so siphoning attacks, we talked about it earlier. Light and heavy attacks can restore things automatically, and then also all other direct damage attacks have a 10% chance to restore additional magic and stamina. Light and heavy attacks automatically give it. All other attacks have a 10% chance to give us 2k. That's a ridiculous amount. So imagine using a Funnel Health weaved into a Swallow Souls. You have the possibility of getting 3,000 stamina and magic back, making this the main buff we want to run on ourselves. Another thing good about it is, while gaining ultimate, guess what? You can use a siphoning ability and gain ultimate. So even on your back bar, that 4%, that 4 seconds that you have to get 2 ultimates, the cooldown, you're almost always proccing this because you have siphoning abilities here, you have a sap, you have Swallow Soul, and between you should be taunting and using your buffs, but every 4 seconds you're pretty much going to be using a siphoning ability to keep this going 100% of the time. We also have an assassination ability on our back bar. Reason why? We want to make sure that our back bar has those advantageous passives here from assassination. Mirage is the obvious choice, and this gives us the major plus the minor resolve. So we're going to get major from Refreshing Path, we're going to get minor physical and spell resistance from using this, and that lasts 26 seconds. We're also going to get the dodge chance we need to proc Tava's Blessing, which is every time you dodge an attack, you get 9 ultimate over 3 seconds. So the reason I take this morph instead of the speed is because I already have major expedition, so that doesn't really do anything for me. And the extra resistance with these 2 buffs gets me pretty close to the cap. So if I hit this, and we look at my stats here, 27 and 27. Now when blood spawn procs, you're at the cap. So that's good for your physical and spell resistance. So maintain those buffs. Pre-buff phase, the way I maintain my buffs, I cast it the duration that's the longest to the shortest. Why is that? Well, you want to get the most bang for your buck. So if you cast Refreshing Path first, the 9-second, then you cast your long one, then you cast... Well, now you only have 5 seconds left of your Refreshing Path. So you want to go with your 26-second, your 15-second, your 9-second, and then you go into the fight. That's kind of how you do this on your back bar. Last ability up is the Undaunted Inner Rage. I take the magic version, so it's a ranged taunt, and it gives your allies 38% chance to proc Radiate. Radiate is a lot of damage, and it's my primary taunt that I use when I know there's another source of major fracture. So let's say someone like is a Dragon Knight using the Breath. I know I don't have to apply this, so I'll rely more on Inner Rage, so that way the DPS can get the extra benefit, extra synergy. And synergies are really, really important, whether you're looking at this build or another one, and a lot of it is due to Undaunted Command. Activating a synergy restores 4% of your max stats. So look at all these ways we have to get back magic and stamina. We got siphoning attacks, we got synergies here. Another thing that synergies do for us that I don't think a lot of people factor in is this. The Synergizer grants 2 ultimate. So as a Magic Nightblade Siphon build, I'm always spamming synergies. Just remember when you spam synergies, which bar do you need to be on? You need to be on the bar with the decisive trait. So I look at my shield, it's a circular one, don't want to be on that one, I want to be on the square one. So I clearly identify, boom, gives proccing a synergy, gives you that Synergizer, there's no cooldown on it, so if you see one right after the other, hit it. The only one I would not do is the Grav Crush from the Templar. ultimate Nova. You should probably let a DPS get that. You don't have to hit it right away, and if no DPS is going to get it, you can do it as well, because it does do a whole lot of damage and stuns mobs. When in doubt, let the DPS get it though. Last but not least is our key ultimate that we're going to use at reduced cost to 225, and it's Aggressive Warhorn. This is the Alliance War skill, and kind of the meta, the idea right now is that tanks and healers run this in combination to allow the major force bust to kind of continue. So I've talked about Aggressive Warhorn a lot in the past, so I want to talk about alternate ways to be effective on the battlefield. And one way is bolstering darkness. When I'm encountering new content, like let's say the new dungeons, and I'm not familiar with what's going to happen, this is something I'm going to use. It's the other morph, Veil of Blades, and it costs 180 ultimate, which is nothing for us. We can almost maintain this. 16.7 duration. Now it's not max level yet, so I got to level that up. It gives you major protection, you and your allies. So sitting in a Veil is similar to Nova. Nova only affects the targets that are in it. This affects whoever is standing in it. So 30% damage reduction for you and all your allies comes at a really good time, can save you from a wipe. This morph, guess what? It gives you 30% additional damage. So this, for the Dragon Knights out there, is kind of like your magma armor. You lay this down, sap your booty off with siphon attacks, you're not dying. You're just not. So this is your game changer for small group content when you're not doing trials. And that's our skills. So let me talk about gear, and then we're going to show you how to play this dang thing. The gear is similar to my Dragonite T3 build because it has the same sort of premise for trials, being able to get ultimate fast. So we're going to use 5 Tavas, we're going to use 2 Bloodspawn, and then 2 Willpower, which I'll get to is look a little bit odd, and then 3 Covenants. The 3 Covenants is only applied on my back bar since I don't have the other 2 Sword and Shield slotted. The other 2 Sword and Shields are Seducers, just for increased match recovery. So when I'm sapping, hitting Swallow Souls, I get a little bit extra advantage, extra oomph, getting me over that 2K mark. So the thing you want to do to optimize your gear to get max value from your stats is infuse traits. So infuse trait on your large spots. If you don't know what large traits are, essentially you get more for your enchant. So right now on a small spot like my shoulders, gloves, boots, belt, you're getting very low stats out of your glyphs, your enchants. But when you go to infuse, you get a whole lot. And so we're going to pair that with the prismatic enchant. Prismatic enchants are not cheap. You can get the Hajoto Essence Rune from Imperial City with Telvar Stones. You can buy them on a trader. And what it does is give you a whole lot of value at this spot. So look at how many stats I have. That's over 1,600. So we're taking advantage of what the Argonian does very well, and that is the racial passive that gives us max health, magic, and stamina, 12%. So we're using that to our advantage, making our stat pool a lot bigger, so every 45 seconds we have a massive flood of resources, regardless of which type of resource we use. So if we use a tripod, which I don't think even I have any on here, we're almost getting full resources back every 45 seconds. So if you do need some extra oomph and you're running out of resources, you can't maintain Siphon, doing the potions and setting up your stats like this will give you a much larger stat pool. So I do infuse on the head, chest, legs, and then 1 shield, since that is considered a heavy spot as well. The other spots are going to be sturdy with stamina. Now, if you want more damage, you need to have more magic, but I really like the high stamina pool. Why? CC breaking, dodging, blocking, all that really matters, because the higher your stamina pool is with repentance and shards, the more stamina you can get back, the longer you can block. Plus, we have a high stamina pool, we can maintain it with siphoning attacks, light attack weaving, and then also direct damage effects. So sturdy here, gloves, boots, gives us a whopping 12% stamina reduction cost for blocking, which is really nice. Druid I enchant very specifically. 1, reduced cost of blocking is really what we're going for. Reduced cost of magic spells since I'm using 5 heavy, and then magic recovery. So I have 1 light, 1 medium, and then 5 heavy, the 5-1-1 setup. Once again, the reason why we're doing that is to take advantage of the Argonian passive. So right here, increases your max stats. Also this, giving back max stats, so we're like a big nasty max stat pool, getting the 6%. That way, when we use our Argonian potion, we get more value, more bang for our buck. So if you wanted more reliability in terms of sapping, you would do 2 light. If you wanted to be more tanky and try to hit the hard cap, you'd do all heavy. But I really think it's been advantageous for me running 5-1-1 on the setup. I've tried it all different ways, and I really like this. The weapon traits. Now, I prefer Decisive over Infuse in this for specific build. And you can see a really big benefit in running Infuse Crusher Enchant. And I still run the Crusher Enchant just to make sure it's applied a lot. But Decisive is so core to this build, I don't think we can run an Infused on it. Our sword back here, I do reduce target weapon damage and spell damage. So what that does is, when you're swinging on your back bar, you have a chance to proc this and essentially reduce those big, huge, heavy physical damage attacks that the boss does. So it's not the best single thing to do, but it's something over nothing. Now, if you wanted more damage, you could put the opposite effect, giving you spell damage. What would that do? That'd give you more healing. So this is kind of more for a trial setup. So let's say you didn't want to run trials, you could run something like this, the Leeching Plate set, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, Gilliam the Rogue has a Bloodletter build that is basically the offensive version of this for solo play, group PvE, 4-mans, and dungeons. What he recommends is 5 Leeching, 5 Bahara's Curse, and then 2 Scourger. So with that setup, you can do a whole lot of AoE damage, almost comparable to some people's DPS, and still maintain aggro. However, with the new trials coming out, Dragonstar Arena, I find it a little bit more advantageous to focus more on ultimate regeneration. So if I'm doing 4-player content, I'll switch to 5 Leeching, 5 Baharas, and then 2 Scourger. If I'm doing PvP, I will obviously change my skills, but I'll run Black Rose here, Vicious Death, and then a combination of either Engine Guardian or a Bloodspawn as well, doing 5 heavy, 1 and 1. That's the gear setup that we've come up with. So let's talk about how to play this. Okay, so quickly touching on champion points. What I found most effective is restacking Reduce Cost in Magician, because we're not using a whole lot of stamina abilities. Really, we're using Heroic Slash as our main stamina ability every 9 seconds, and then Taunt sparingly. So we don't need a whole lot of points in Reduced Cost. Also, Recovery. I stack the crap out of it. Even in 5 pieces of heavy armor, I'm over that 2k, because that's pretty much where all my buffs, debuffs, and healing comes from. Any into stamina recovery because I don't see the value of it. If I'm using siphoning attacks properly, potions, I have a large stamina pools, I'm not getting anything back off of blocking. I'm actually getting more resources than it takes if I'm using sap essence properly, swallow souls properly. Plus, while blocking, you're not getting stamina back, so it doesn't make sense for me to use it there. Shadow Ward, I do stack a lot of reduced cost in here, so since I'm not using all sturdy trait, I find it valuable to stack about 30 points into here. Now, when you're doing PvP, or you're going to get increased 10 points with the next champion point update, this is actually pretty useful. Since we are doing active dodge rolling, and if we do PvP, we're going to have to break free quite a bit, it's beneficial to put points into tumbling. Moving over to this, I stack a lot of points into Blessed, Elemental Expert, since it does include magic damage, and then self-healing for me. Now, Spell Erosion, I'm not doing DPS, so I don't need a whole lot of penetration. What I need is more healing done, and then also extra crit off my healing. Don't have a whole lot of crit, but that I do have will hit pretty hard. So another thing to know is that the Argonian Healing Receive will stack well with this as well, making Sap Essence do 8% more healing done to everyone else, not just you. I don't put any points into Thermaturge, don't find it valuable since I'm not DPSing and using damage over time effects. And I stack Elemental Defender, Hardy to the 120 point Unchained, even though I'm not really using it. But if you do break CC, you can use a free Heroic Slash, not free, but 80% reduced cost. Over here, I do a lot of points into Quick Recovery. I still don't know what the best setup here is for the red, but this is what I found most effective. If you're having trouble with the flame because you're a vampire, just remember that vampire works differently now. So if we go to the vampire skill line under the world here, oh, excuse me, let's go to their character screen. If we look at the stages of Vampire, what you can do with Vampire now is go feed on an ally. At stage 1, you're not taking the fire damage that you need to. So if you're going to go do, like, let's say Hell Raw or HRC or, you know, something COA and you're afraid of the fire damage, well, what you need to do is just go feed on an ally, or an ally if you want, or just an NPC. It's going to drop you into that low, no fire damage zone. And then if you need to, let's say, use Devouring Sword at really cheap price in PvP, all you do is spam Elusive Mist. And that increases your about 30 minutes lower to get to the stage 4. So you have 5 hours to play with it in stage 1 where you're not taking flame damage. And so, like in the new content, the new dungeons that are here over in Argonian land, these two things here, it's pretty much all poison and disease damage, which is really, really good since we're an Argonian. And guess what we have? Da-da-da! Poison and disease resistance. Did I mention I'm an Argonian yet? I think I did. So that's what I do with the champion points. Now, a race, I really like the Argonian. Did I mention I'm an Argonian yet? The reason why is just it really goes well with what we're doing. Healing ourselves and others. Poison and disease resistance in the next update. Also, getting back a lot of resources. This is your regen. Not static regen, but this. Because it's max magic, stamina, and health. It's perfect for a tank. And who doesn't want swimming speed? I mean, come on, it's great. Also, a Breton would work really well. You get spell resistance, a crap ton of spell resistance, reduced cost, which goes really good with heavy armor. But anything can really tank this. Even on a Nord Nightblade would be actually make a really good tank. Extra stamina, extra health. So if you're looking at rolling this build specifically, I'd go with an Argonian, but any race can tank. You want something with health, magic, recovery, reduced cost. Any sort of way to get stamina back is really good. Even a Redguard while you're doing light attack weaving is very, very good. Okay, we're going to do something a little odd, and that's soloing Vetmils from Arena the first round as a tank. So the purpose of this isn't to show how great I am. It's to show you how to use the build, talk about it, use the rotations, and then kind of show you how to maintain aggro, keep yourself alive, and maintain your buffs. On the left-hand side of my screen, I'm using a really cool add-on called Buff Timers. So it gives me a big, huge bar with a nice duration of maintaining important buffs. Siphon, my major resistance, double take. Once again, that's Buff Timers. So it's going to be easy for you guys to kind of see where I'm at and what buffs I'm maintaining and what buffs I'm not. So I want you to pay attention to that. Give me some feedback. Am I maintaining all the buffs properly? Okay, first thing I do, setting in here and just making this kind of mentality of a tank is turning mobs away from my group. So let's say the little banker guy is my friend. Where'd my banker go? I'm going to turn the ads away from my group. My job is to bash. You saw that big little exclamation point over this guy's head? Or girl? Is that a guy or a girl? Anyways, you see that big exclamation point? Let me see if I can't get it again. Use that as an indicator to bash. It's your responsibility to stop that attack because it will do so much damage to you and your buddy. See that? Bang, bash it. Now don't excessive bash because it will cause a lot of extra stamina drain that you don't need. So we're going to maintain our Mirage, siphoning attacks, and our major buff. You can see that little sound or hear that little sound, not see a sound. You can hear that sound, that's Tava's. The trick about Tava's is you can actively block like I did right there. So you see this? Watch this. Once he does a direct damage effect, not an AoE, but a direct damage effect like an arrow, you can dodge it. See that? You hear that dodge sound? That's proccing Tava's, and that's going to be on my front bar. So the trick is, if you have extra stamina, use it like that to proc Tava's manually. So we're going to put a Veil of Blades down. I'm going to use a potion immediately after I use my ultimate. Put a potion down. Now I'm going to do some active dodging, hopefully, and blocks and get some arrows. Come on! I got to active dodge and show how good I am. Come here. Yeah. So right here, oh, I killed him. So maintain my buffs. This first, this, taunt. So I'm going to get some taunts out. I know it's single, but anyways. So I'm going to get my Swallow Soul healing going. I'm going to get my Heroic Slash ultimate going. Pop an ult. I automatically just drink a potion just in case. Reapply some of my buffs. I'm holding block, sapping. I don't need to hold the block anymore. I can avoid damage. So you see what I'm doing? I'm light weaving attacks in here until there's a heavy attack to block. Block, light weave attacks. Why? We talked about siphoning earlier and how important it is to constantly use light attacks and not just block knight it. So you see this? I'm getting peppered. Light attack. Sidestep, light attack. There's no reason to block right there. Drop, block, and be active with it. Don't be a block knight. Okay. So you can see it's pretty tanky, and I am a vampire. I'm still doing a lot of self-healing, even with the fire coming, so it's not a big deal. Alright, round 2. Maintaining my buffs. Mirage, Siphon. I'm going to get him taunted, get it taunted, drop an ultimate, immediately use a potion. I'm going to ransack, Heroic Slash, get my healing in, Sap Essence for major sorcery, and I'm just going to light weave attacks in melee distance here and just get him. So now I'm low on ultimate. I'm going to get some manual ultimate there. See, I dodged that manually. Just kind of looking at the guy. And as long as my stamina is above about 50, 25%, I can still kind of play around with this. So now that my stamina is a little bit low, I'm going to move into light attack weaving and funnel health. That's going to get my resources up. So as my buffs are about down, reapply them in this order. Mirage, Siphon, Refreshing. So I'm going to place a Veil of Blades for damage reduction on this guy. Taunt him again. Heroic Slash him. Why Heroic Slash? Ultimate. Now there's through 2 or more targets, so I go into sap mode. Potion just comes off cooldown, I use it. Okay, now it's time to reapply buffs and debuffs. So Siphon, Refreshing Path, make sure I got everything taunted. I got excessive stamina so I can dodge roll specific melee attacks to proc Tavas. And I'm almost to Veil of Blades / Consuming Darkness, Bolstering Darkness. So if I need it again, or a Warhorn if I was doing group play, taunt. I got 3 or more targets, so I'm going to get him reduced physical damage. I'm going to Heroic Slash. Refreshing Path needs reapplied. I got 6 seconds left on my Siphon, so don't reapply it early if it doesn't need it. So he just actively attacks me. Then I'm going to place this guy on top of this guy. Why is that important? Because you want your AoE DPS to do as much as possible. So if you have mobs in 2 specific different places, you're doing less damage as a group than if you stack them together. The trick is, if your DPS is on the opposite side, you should tank them just like this. So that way, when they do an AoE cleave like that, the red on the ground, it doesn't hit your other DPS. Okay, it's very, very important. Now we're going to active block. Oh, he's dead. But look at these resources, gang. Look at them. It's fantastic, I'm telling you. Round 3. Got my buffs up. Light attack. Get that ultimate genning. Swallow souls. Get that heal over time. I got some excess stamina, so I'm going to dodge roll actively to proc Tavas. Boo-doo-doo. And remember that Refreshing Path, you'll need to reapply it once you go out of it if you're looking for the major expedition. Because it only applies while you're in this little clever little red area here. So just remember that. Okay, I have a potion up and an ultimate up. So in trials, I would call it a Warhorn. But for here, I'm just going to hit that. Tripod immediately at full resources. So if you wanted more damage, use a spell power potion to get the weapon critical or whatever. So I have extra stam. Dodge roll a little bit. And the more you become familiar with the Tavas dodge roll, the better you get at it. I drop below 50%. I stop the active dodge rolling. So I hope you're starting to get what I'm doing here. So I'm a little bit low on resources, so I'm going to get a little bit more healing up and light attack weaving swallow souls. Even on a sword and shield, it seems goofy. But remember, you always can proc that siphoning attack with the light attacks. Veil of Blades. Get my healing going, my ground effect, major expedition. Mirage is up. What's not up? Heroic Slash. Get that ultimate generating. So now I need to reapply Freshing to get my 5k resistances up. Reapply Siphoning, and then Heroic Slash. You can see where my stamina goes for this build. It's not with Taunt, it's with Heroic Slash. Potions up, use it, I'm at full resources. Okay, so let's see if we can't get a whole crap load of mobs here. They're not really pressuring me. I'm going to just like wait till I'm at 25% health here and show you what I do if I'm in trouble. Very first thing, drop a Veil, dodge roll. Now I'm going to sap. I'm going to use some dodges here, so I'm a little bit resources. Make sure Siphon's up. Reapply. Reapply Mirage. Siphon. Soul Harvest here. Or excuse me, Swallow Souls. And you're just kiting and blocking. Now I'm going to do Heroic Slash since I have a little bit more stamina. Reapply that. And I'm kind of looking at the mobs. And block. See? That's active blocking. Active blocking. Swallow Souls here. Try to get the weakest target down. Then I pull them in here, and Tripods up, Veil of Blades down. I should have used Veil of Blades or a Bolstering Darkness before I used the potion. So get better than me at that. Buffs are back up. Use Heroic Slash. Refreshing Path. Siphoning Attack. Mirage is back up. All buffs are good. So I can do some active dodge rolling to get ultimate up before the next boss encounter. Okay, boss encounter. So for this, you're just going to have to maintain discipline. Take your time. This is VMA. It's meant for DPS, not tanking. So we're just going to maintain our discipline here. Taunt boss, drop my ultimate, automatically just click the potion button by default. So now I'm just light attack weaving using Swallow Soul. There's 2 or more mobs, so now I'm going to use Sap Essence. Potion comes up, I'm immediately going to use it regardless if my resources are up. And the reason I am doing that is for the ultimate gain. So I'm going to taunt. Refreshing path down. We got 2 mobs, so I'm holding block here and moving, constantly strafing. The reason I'm constantly strafing is you can miss a lot of damage just maintaining that strafe. Okay, so he's going to summon his friend back. So see if we can't get him down. Okay. So you can see the boss, I'm not doing a whole lot of damage, but also it's very, very hard to kill me. So I'm going to drop Veil, automatically hit my potion button, and you're just doing this over and over and over. This is tanking. You're just maintaining taunt, you're maintaining your buffs, you're maintaining your debuffs. Rogue Slash, siphoning attacks, refreshing path. I'm going to taunt these 2 things. Life's good. So if you need to practice tanking, come do it here. There's no disadvantage to coming practicing tanking and getting your mechanics down. Yeah, you're not going to be able to kill stuff, and it's going to, or you could, it'd take you forever, but you still can practice the main things of tanking, which is surviving independently. Okay, a lot of mobs. Let's drop a Veil, use a potion to immediately get ultimate and resources back. Now you see I'm slapping. Now there's no reason to block here, so I'm not blocking. Light attack weave in between. See, all my buffs are down now. So taunt, refreshing, there. Now light attack weave to get my magic back up and get heroic slash since I have excessive stamina. This would also be an opportunity to use the dodge roll excessively since I have so much stamina. So now you see there's more and more mobs coming. So we're just going to do exactly what we've been doing. Refreshing path, Veil of Blades down. Sap Essence while holding block since there is multiple mobs. Heroic Slash to lessen the damage. Get that taunt him. Just doing this. I can do this all day. Well, gang, I put a lot of time and effort into this build. It's been a lot of fun. It's my favorite way to tank now. And the reason I haven't done the Templar tank or the Healer Templar build is I just don't have the new 5-pieces sets of gear. So I think I'm just going to make the builds anyways and kind of explain to you what you can use even though I don't have it and how it affects you. But while I've been waiting for that, I've just been playing this and I just found it more enjoyable, more fun, more active than my DK, and actually more survivable, even as a stage 4 vampire. So what I need from you guys, the community, is a couple things. One, if you like this type of build where I go into detailed explanations, leave me a comment. If you like how I do 2 parts where one's really fast and just kind of goes through and shows you the cool stuff and whatever, and you like part 2, leave me a comment. I need to know where you guys like the content. Because not everyone wants to sit through a 30-minute lecture build thing, and not everyone wants a 5-minute little clip of me being awesome or whatever. So please, leave me a comment, let me know. Max is doing good, life is good, a lot more builds to come. And I'll probably go through a Stam Sork VMA run because you guys have been asking for that, and I realize I haven't done a Flawless Conqueror run or anything on that yet. So get ready for that. Templar Tank, Magplar Healer, we got a lot coming, and then a PvP version of this as well. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you next time.